Good morning, everyone, and welcome to RevUP Module 12. Today we are going to talk about, hang on, my slides aren't advancing. We're going to talk about closing the sale and creating clients for life. I think you've heard me say before in the past that 85% of my business, oh, here comes Mario. 85% of my business is referral, past clients, etc. So that is where y'all want to be. And I'm sure, Troy, you've been around for a while. I'm sure you're probably close to that number, maybe even above that number. That's where you want to be on your referral business. Now, this market's really bizarre right now. And so we're having to work a little harder to shake that tree from our past referral business to get more listings and more buyers. But it can be done. We just have to refocus and shift where we're going. So our affirmation for today is, I know my strengths and what my revenue producing activities are. I love delegating the busy work to those who are better at it than I am. Keep that in mind. Oh, Craig's coming in too. Keep that in mind. You know, there are always going to be little things. If you can afford it and you want to get an office administrator, that's totally fine. A virtual assistant, whatever, that's totally fine. You're more than welcome to do that. But I've never had to do it. I've been doing this for 18, 20 years. Troy, have you ever had a virtual assistant?
Yes.
Okay. Did it help?
Yes, I've had both. I've had a in-house real assistant, a person that was in my office, and I've had a virtual assistant, and it freed up my time probably 35%.
Okay, so the return on investment was good for it.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so when you guys get to that point, you may want to consider that. All right, like I said, this is the last module. I think most of you, with the exception of Troy, have completed all 12 modules. Troy, if you want to go back and review the modules, I can get them to you, and I'll give you a certificate for completing all 12.
Woohoo!
It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And so we'll have some sort of a little celebration for those that completed all 12 modules. And if anybody feels they missed one, Lily, I think you missed a couple, but we're getting those caught up. You know, I give credit as long as you can tell me what was on the video or something about the video. Okay, so our learning objectives today are going to be how to order a property profile with title commitment, basically, how to read it, how to understand it, how the property profile differs from the preliminary title report, the survey, when a preliminary title report is ordered, how to read and understand a closing disclosure, and when to open title escrow. So, and there's another page of this, so bear with me. We got one more to go through. What the meaning of time is of the essence. We use that phrase quite a bit, so we'll talk about that. How to navigate the pending path successfully. Typical due diligence types, frameworks, and contingency removals. We'll walk through that. Who assists with the pending path items, communication and follow-up, lead follow-up, and then creating a client for life. All right, Lily's going to get caught up on her missing classes over the weekend, so that's great. Closing the sale, property profile. As soon as you have an executed contract, that contract needs to be sent over to your title representative, whichever title company you are using. They need a fully executed contract. And I always follow up with them and ask them. We can do a lot of the earnest and option fees right now electronically. So I always follow up with them and say, hey, my clients are going to be sending over their earnest and option monies. Can we do it electronically? Is it through your app? Do you use Zacom? How do we get your earnest and option fees to you? And then I also, at that point, when I have them on the phone, I ask them to send me, they generate a report, and basically it's a critical dates report, and it tells you who needs to do what on what days. And I put that right into my calendar. So I'm aware, or I put it on my checklist for the thing. So I'm aware of, okay, option period is going to be up on this property on Thursday. Survey needs to be done, provided, or a new one has to be ordered by the following Sunday. All of those things I put in there. And so just keep that in mind. Go over the owner's names, how they want them spelled. And that should be how it is on the contract. Deeds of trust. Who's on the deed of trust? Is it a husband and wife, but maybe only the husband is on or only the wife is on? Are there any other liens? What's the legal description of the property? I always take my legal description off the tax records. Verify that it's correct, and title company will be able to do that for you. Are the boundaries visible versus a visual inspection? And then any other items that may come up. So just have an understanding of those. In closing disclosure, I'm going to pull one of those up for you here in a little bit. And basically it is just a balance sheet, and one's provided for the buyers and one's provided for the sellers. And it's everything on the transaction. Who's paying for this, who's paying for that, and what their fees are going to be, what is due at closing. Your final closing disclosure is done a couple of days, usually 3 days prior to closing. And so we have to review it. I go over that with a fine-tooth comb and make sure, especially if you've had amendments during the contract period and things have changed, make sure that everything is correct on there. Everyone's getting credited and debited for what they need to be. And that no mistakes were made. If you find something you're not sure of or don't understand, call the title company, have them explain it to you. The closing disclosure is going to be a combination of what the lender sends to the title company and what the title company already has off of the contract. So make sure that you go over it, itemize. If there are any discrepancies, find out what they are. I always touch base with my buyer and or seller, depending on which side I have, and say, okay, I've got the closing disclosure. I'm sure you've received a copy of it as well. Are there any things that we need to review? I've already gone over it and everything looks good to me, but were there any items that I may have missed or that you're concerned about? And have an open conversation about it at that point. You're going to go over it again at the closing table. I'm going to sneeze here in a second, so I do apologize. Excuse me. But you're going to go over it at the closing table, but it's best to address any issues up front. And so you don't have any issues at closing. Make sure that the fees and the credits are both the same on both forms. If you're representing the buyer, you're not going to see the seller's form. So that one's kind of, it used to be we got to see both, we don't anymore. Opening escrow, like I said, the fully executed contract goes to all parties. Okay. Time is of the essence. This phrase is used considerably in real estate. And basically what it means is you need to get things done as quickly as possible during the transaction. Don't wait. If you know something needs to get done, start working on it immediately. If you know that you represent the seller and they have not provided a survey yet, get on them right away and say, okay, we're under contract now. I really do need that survey. If we don't have it by, the 12th of October, that's when a new one will be ordered and you will be responsible to pay for it. If that's what the contract says, just go over everything. Make sure you're coordinating with their lender and that there's no surprises coming on there. Your earnest money deposit, we had a mix up with this a few years ago or a few months ago. That earnest money needs to be deposited to the title company within 3 days. So time is of the essence. You need to get that money in quickly. Unfortunately, our buyer, it was a buyer we were working with, our buyer did not get their earnest money in. And that voided their option period. and they were out of contract at that point when they didn't get their earnest money in. So they wanted to opt out anyway, but they lost their earnest money deposit that they finally paid, but they paid it late. And so it's very, very, very important to know your dates on your contract. The magic number for earnest money, you have 3 days to get it into your title company. And if that's over a weekend, then they won't count Sunday, but still I count Sunday because I want to make sure it's in as quickly as possible because time is of the essence. Inspections, usually we have 5 to 7 days on inspections, whatever we put on the option period. So make sure as soon as you get a signed contract, you're working on getting those inspections taken care of. I set up my inspections for my clients. Not everybody does that, but I will call whatever inspector my client wants. I will call them and say, hey, we're under our option period. How quickly can you get out there to do inspections? I want your soonest available date. And then I'll work through that. And then I'll notify my buyers and say, hey, we can get the inspector out there on, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We will meet with him and go over his results and his findings from the inspection. Repair requests. I do my repair requests a little different from most. I usually attach a separate sheet to my amendment to the contract, and I will put under, I think it's item 6 is other, I will put, please see attached repair request. And then, because they only give you a couple of lines on your repair request on your amendment. And usually it's going to take more than that. Now, if it's only 2 or 3 things you need, just put it on the amendment. Don't worry about putting a separate attachment to it. But generally, it's going to be a laundry list. And so I always put see attached amendment, and then I will do at the top of my Word document, a repair request amendment. And then I will list out exactly what my clients want. And I'm pretty detailed. If they want something specifically done, I'm pretty detailed. I include a picture from the inspection report as to what we're asking to be repaired so they can see it and know we're just not asking for stuff willy-nilly. So I will copy the section of the repair report. Never send your inspection reports to your sellers, your listing agent. They hate you for that because now if there's something on there they didn't notice, Troy's laughing, they're going to have to disclose it. And so don't send it to them unless it's absolutely necessary. Just take excerpts from your contract. Mario, I think we've done that before. I don't know if you can talk or not, but Mario and I have done a couple of contracts where we've had to do a repair request and we just take excerpts from it. That's the best way to do it. Troy, is that how you've handled it in the past?
It depends on the seller's agent.
Okay. If they're nice, you do. If they're not, you send them the whole report.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
exactly what I do. It's a little rude, but that's what I
love you. Well, and that's up to you how you want to do it. But yeah. And there are times where that might be called for. Repair request refusal deadline. If your seller does not agree to repairs, typically the buyer must void by a certain date. So make sure you're cognizant of that date, because you don't want, if you're representing the buyer, you don't want to miss a date, and just keep following up with that listing agent if that's the case. Repair amendment agreement. If the seller does not agree to make repairs are typically must be completed by a certain date. So make sure that and usually it's like within 3 days of closing or whatever, and then go back, and your inspectors will generally go back. It may be a $50 recheck fee, but they will go back and look at the house again if you ask them to. And so make sure if it's a concern of your clients that the repairs were done and you're not the qualified one to determine if those repairs are done, have your inspector go back out and do a re-inspection and make sure that it's there. If there are any other contingencies on the property, If you're waiting for a survey, if you're waiting for your lender approval, make sure you're cognizant of all of those dates and just keep following up. I always let my clients know, once we're under contract, you're probably not going to talk to me daily unless it's necessary, but please know I am in the background talking with the various people involved in your transaction, and I am working that daily, and I will keep you updated. I usually once every couple of days, even if there's nothing to report, I'm sending him an email going, hey, everything's going well. I've talked to title, I've talked to your lender. We're just trying to get things put together. I will get back to you as soon as I have more information. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. And then, always anticipate the curve. There's always things that can go wrong during a transaction. Try to anticipate what could go wrong and, be prepared for it. What action needs to be taken right now, what the lender requests are. Is it going to make appraisals? Appraisals are kind of tricky. As a listing agent, if I have an appraiser going out to one of my properties, I will go out to that property in advance of that date, and I will leave a little note and maybe a packet for that appraiser. They hate this when you do it, but I always leave them an information packet and say, hey, I thought this might be helpful to you. Here are the updates that the seller has done to the house, and I include dates and what has been updated. Here's also the CMA that I performed when I listed the property. If you'd like to see that, and then anything else that you think might help him determine value. And I always put in there, feel free to call me if you have any questions or need additional information. Chances are they're not going to call you, but it's there. You let them know I'm available, and then just follow up and, follow your deadlines. Don't miss any deadlines, and make sure you have renegotiated everything so you don't have any last minute renegotiations. That drives people crazy, especially title people. They smile and put up with it, but they don't like it. Okay, who helps during the phases? Competent education, dedication, and attitude. If you have any questions on the closing process or what needs to be done, you can always come to me or Michael or anyone in the office that's gone through a closing before and say, hey, I'm a little confused here, or I'm a little concerned. What do I need to do? Don't be afraid to ask the questions. That's why we're here, and we will help you out. If you're brand new and you have your first closing, your first 5 closings, actually, I'm going to be right beside you for that closing. And so don't worry about that, but feel free to ask questions and let's get it all up. Communicate and follow up. Like I said, call, text, email, even if there's nothing to report, make sure your client's updated. If you have a transaction coordinator, make sure they're part of the process. We have an interesting feature that not many people use or know about in SkySlope. When you enter a property into SkySlope, it automatically generates an email address for that file. Now, you can use that email address and provide it to your title company, your other agent, anybody that's involved with your lender, and say, if you have any documents that are pertinent to the file, please CC this address on it. And it will automatically load those documents into your file so you don't have to download and upload. Just an interesting time-saving thing. So I usually do, when I get all the contract and get it executed and everything, I usually just add that email address to the file and send it out to title and everybody else, and it automatically gets put into the system. So make sure that you do that. Just a little time-saving thought. Troy, have you ever used that feature?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Isn't it cool?
It's cool because it puts it right in. The documents go right into the transaction, and It just saves a lot of time.
It really does. And you still have to go in there and assign them as to what the documents are, but you don't have to fiddle around with downloading them and re-uploading. It saves a lot of time. And then make sure you implement your follow-up system in your CRM. You know, this is a sample of my CRM. And like this, Robert Spahn was one that I've worked on as a co-agent. So I made sure he's got an anniversary coming up, and I made sure that I have him in here. So when his home purchase anniversary comes up in a couple of months or a month and a half, I can shoot him and his wife a little email or a video or something and say, hey, congratulations on being a homeowner in Texas now for a year. I hope everything's going well. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to call me. If you know anybody that is interested in buying, selling, or leasing, I'm always available. I would love an introduction, or something to that effect. You guys have to figure out your own verbiage and what flows from you. I just tell you what I do and what I use. But these are all people that are in my database. Prabhath Wanaguru, I sold him a house it'll be 2 years in January. And so he's all in here. So just make sure as soon as you end that transaction, I do a couple of things. I put him in the database, or right before I end the transaction, I put him in, and I put him in as a new homeowner, or whatever category you want to call it. And then I put them on a drip campaign, and I may put them on a drip campaign. If I know their birthday, I'm going to put them on a birthday drip. If I put them on a holiday drip, and then I'll put them on a drip campaign for homeowners. And so just make sure that you get that in there and continue to follow up with these people. Okay. Congratulations, you're done. But wait, there's more. Now the fun begins. You have to create raving fans. And this is an interesting statistic here that I put in red and put a pink arrow to. Approximately 75% of agents never or rarely follow up after the sale. Guys, that's what your referral base is. Those are warm referrals. These people will be your best buddies. They'll be a great source of clients for you if you follow up with them. If you don't follow up with them, you're going to be a one and done. They'll forget who you are. And you're going to continue to be looking for clients. So make sure that you're in the 25% that follows up with these people after the sale. Don't be in that 75%. You know, set yourself apart and watch the referrals come in year after year. I have clients that I've worked, like the one on Eichel. She and I've been working together for 15 years. I can't get rid of her. Sometimes I want to get rid of her, but I can't get rid of her. She loves me. And so we just had her property expire, but she texted me yesterday and goes, is there any way we can reactivate that listing? Well, no, but we can always do a new contract. So she and I are going to talk about that this afternoon because she wants to relist. And she missed all the deadlines and all the emails and follow-ups that I sent her about your property's getting ready to expire. Are you wanting to extend it? And she got busier for whatever reason and, you know, didn't get back to me. Well, now she got back to me, and you have a 2-day grace period. You can reactivate. Your broker can reactivate it after 2 days it's expired. But we're 3 and 4 days after, so there's no way I can reactivate it now. It's going to be a brand new listing. So keep that in mind. You know, staying in touch is easy if you have a plan. I'm always telling you guys to have a plan and follow your plan. So you must have an after sales action plan, and you need to implement it as soon as you complete the transaction. I will put them in my database and then probably give them a week, maybe 10 days. And then I will shoot them a follow-up email and say, hey, I hope everything's going well. You've been in the house a couple of weeks now. I hope things are going well. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. You know, it's just a nice little touch. I also follow up with them. It takes roughly 6 weeks for everything to get recorded with the counties and various things. And they need to get their driver's license changed to the new address before they can file their homestead exemption. So I will follow up with them about 10 days after they've closed on the property. Then my next follow-up is going to be about 6 or 8 weeks after. And it's just as simple, hey, I just wanted to remind you, you need to file for your homestead exemption. If you haven't done that, have you changed your driver's license address? Because that is a requirement for filing your homestead exemption. And just little reminders like that. And if they come back and say, oh, I forgot all about it, no worries. Here's the information again on how to do that. And then I'll follow up with them again in another month until they tell me they've got their homestead exemption, and just remind them of the amount of savings they're going to get from having that homestead exemption on their property. It has to be their main property that they're living in. But you know, it's a good discount, and they just changed the parameters of it, so it's going to be even better. Okay, it's time to take what you've learned and put it to work. Your clients are lucky to have an agent as skilled as you. They want to refer their friends, family, and coworkers to you. They're unaccustomed to your level of care and consistency, and they'll brag about you. Ask them to brag about you. If they're, you know, have them, would you mind going to my Google page and providing me with a review? Or would you mind doing a 10-15-second video testimonial so I can put it on my social media page? Ask them to do that. And then ask them, are there any friends, family, or coworkers that you know of who might be considering buying or selling at this time? If you don't mind, I would love an introduction, and I can help them. You've seen what I do and how I treat my clients, so you know I'm going to take good care of them, and I'm not going to be an embarrassment to you. So if you could make the introduction, I would greatly appreciate it, and they will do it. You know, I spoil my people. I let them know, if you send me a referral, be it a buyer, a seller, or a person looking to lease, I will provide you with a gift card. And if it's a lease, it's going to be a lower amount, just because there's not as much money involved in a lease that I get paid. But I will send you a gift card. The maximum by law that I can give you is $50. So I appreciate you, and I will send you a $50 gift card for referring business to me, regardless if these people use my services. It's just a thank you to you because I appreciate you referring me. And it works. I have my FC Dallas tickets. I have one client, he finally bought his own FC Dallas season tickets because he loves soccer. And he got tired of calling me and going, hey, can I use your tickets? And he has 3 little boys, or 2 little boys. No, he has 3 little boys now. And I only have 2 tickets, so he needed more tickets. So he ended up going and getting his own. But it works really well. If people aren't interested in soccer, I'll ask them, you know, is there something else? Would you like a gift card to a restaurant? Which restaurant? And then I send it out to them. So just make sure you reward people for their referrals. You know, a simple but effective annual after action sales plan: 4 calls, 4 texts, and 4 visits. You want to create personal connections, and then send out 12 printed and mailed newsletters. I do mine electronically. And then set them up. You can set them up on the database for market updates. Get the market updates so they know what's happening in the market, and they're familiar. Are their home prices going up? Are they going down? Are they standard? You know, and then, you know, birthday cards, holiday cards, social media. Most of my clients are on social media with me. And so we communicate quite frequently. Just, you know, they'll like a post or put a comment in it, and we'll get back to it. So Any questions? I know we went through a ton of information. Any questions? Any concerns? Okay, now it's time to put this all into effect, you guys. You have to implement the plan. Yeah, I always tell you, you need to make 3 calls. The people you know, add 3 people you don't know, and send 6 note cards out per week, minimum. It works even better if it's per day. It's just the little touches that are going to set you apart and help you grow and create your business. We have some exciting things going on here at the office. We're working on some new stuff that I'm not able to tell y'all about yet, but know that we're working on some good things here. And I am working on my database again. I have kind of let it slide because I've been working with y'all and getting training and together and up and done and all of that. But in addition to that, I need to get back to my database. I teach you guys to stay in touch with them, and I'm not doing a good job of that myself. So I'm going to be putting time on my calendar to follow up with my database. And I may just kind of lock myself in an office or stay at home for an hour, 2 hours, whatever I determine, and make my phone calls like I tell you guys to do. So that's what you need to do. If you want to make phone calls together, awesome. I'll gladly do it. We'll come in, we'll schedule a time, we can get together, and we'll just dial for dollars together. And you can see how I make phone calls. I'll tell you to make some, and then kind of critique how you're doing and what I would adjust and how I would do it, and come up with a script that you guys are comfortable with. I know a lot of people don't like scripts. I do, but I don't go word for word from a script. I use it as a template. So that's all I have for today. Did anybody have anything? Questions, concerns?
Nope, I'm good.
All righty. Well, thank you all very much for attending and completing the class. I'm going to start doing some additional classes. Lily said that she's good. She can't talk right now. And I may actually pull in some, we have some amazing opportunities with some of our title people in various companies. We have classes that are coming up October 25th over at the Hula Hut. I will be out of town that date, but Michael will be there. Tanya will be there. Our friend Lauren Polito from Capital Title is going to have a class over at the Hula Hut. It is a continuing education class. So if you need continuing education, I think it's a $10 fee on that one. I'm not positive. I had posted it on the Facebook page a couple of weeks or about 10 days ago. I'll repost it again here shortly. But she's going to do matrix tips and all the tricks. And so that will be good. They're doing some updates to matrix here coming up, your MLS. They're adjusting some searches and stuff like that. So Lauren will be doing that. Anybody in Denton? Craig, you're up in Denton. Our friends over at Freedom Title have some great training programs coming on. I'd love to take you up. Maybe we'll take a road trip, and I'll introduce you to Matt Kern up there. That man is a wealth of knowledge. We've had him at one of our classes before. And I know Brownie's used him several times. I'll take you up there and introduce you. Mari, if you want to go, you're more than welcome. Anybody that wants to go meet Matt Kern, we'll just plan a little outing and go up and talk to him. He has classes all the time.
Yeah, I'd love to go by there and see him. I was out cold calling most of the day yesterday. I was kind of up in the Corinth, Southern Denton area, and I should have gone by there, but I didn't really know they were. I didn't know they were there, quite frankly.
Good for you. Well, I'll reach out to Matt and schedule something. Mornings are usually better for you, right?
Yes. I usually got to pick up my grandson from school at 3 or 3:30. So
all right. So I'll see if I can schedule something midday with Matt. and introduce you to him. Great guy. Like I said, he also and I don't know, I need to touch base with him and find out how he's doing with it. He had started a networking group again. Once COVID hit, all the networking groups kind of disappeared. Matt started one up a couple of months ago, and I don't know how they're doing on that. But networking groups, I think, are amazing. I've gotten a lot of business from networking groups. And so we'll introduce you to Matt and see if we can get you plugged in on that. And it's open to anyone who wants to meet Matt. I know Lily and I, she's in a different part of town, so she and I are going to kind of focus on some stuff on her side of town, and maybe make some introductions over in her part of the world, and see if we can't get some things shaking over there. But yeah, we'll do that. Who else? Alamo Title every week, like I've told you guys and posted on the page. Every week on Thursday at 4 o'clock, they do a videography training class. And on Friday, they have their not their waking up to win. They have their Fun Day Fridays at 10:30 on Friday. Tomorrow, and unfortunately, I'm going to miss tomorrow, but I'm going to try to get a copy of it because they record it. The #1 salesperson for Remax is going to be their guest tomorrow, and he sold I want to say it's over 300 million in 1 year by himself. No team, just him. And so it's going to be fascinating to hear how he did it. And unfortunately, I have a prior commitment, so I'm gonna have to see if I can get a recording of it. But if y'all can go, I highly recommend it. And then just they'll give you a phone number to text you and instructions on how to get a copy of the class. So I'm hoping that
is this on the Fun Friday tomorrow? What day?
Yes, this is the Fun Friday tomorrow.
Okay, I'll make sure and be on there.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then if you can get a copy of that recording, it'd be great.
Okay. I think they say when we're watching those things, they say to do text VIP to a number and they'll send us a copy of it, but I never got a copy of the last 2 Fridays. So I know it's up to that.
I have the phone number saved in my phone under Alamo Title. And so if you need that phone number, they give it to you, but if you need it, I can certainly do it. And I may just pull up tomorrow and put VIP in there and see if they'll send it to me.
Yeah, well, I texted to him, so I should have the phone number. So if we're still on for a meeting tomorrow, we can talk about it then, I guess.
Yeah, I forget what time. Was it 1 o'clock?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, but that's about it. Troy has to go. Thank you, Troy. I appreciate you taking the time to come here. Hope you learned something. And I may call Troy in to help me out. We're going to do a Google class because I've gotten more statistics on how important a Google is. I did a search the other day, and I'm going to stop the recording here because we don't need to go into this.